My name is Simone Bose, and today I am joined by Natalie Keany to talk about breathwork and therapy. Hello, Natalie.
Hi, Simone.
Well, you're not a stranger to me, obviously. I know I sort of said it that way, but you are actually my teacher and my dear friend,
Mm.
and I've learned a lot from you. And primarily, it's been around the body and breathwork, and a particular type of breathwork called conscious connected breathwork, which a lot of people sometimes term it as holotropic, and they know it like that. But conscious connected breathwork is a little bit like that, but there's a slight difference, which we can go into. But me being a therapist, I came to this with this kind of feeling that there was a gap in my work, that whilst they're, talking and working with your parts and your inner child and working in that way, there is a part that is really not accessed, and that is working with the body and the breath. And then I found you, and you're a teacher, but you also a practitioner, and you have been doing this for a while now. And I just wanted to ask you, how did you find breath work and the art of conscious connected breath?
Okay, so back in I think it was 2013,
Yeah.
I had sort of reached a point where I was really struggling with anxiety and depression, and was like really looking for a way of healing that. And I'd done a lot of work with psychotherapy and felt I'd gone as far as I could go with that,
Mm,
and went off on a journey and
mm,
learned loads of alternative healing techniques,
mm,
and then came across breathwork in India.
mm.
And within days of doing this course that I did in India, it changed so much for me.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was just very clear, very obvious to me that I had to keep learning it, not just for myself, but
Mhm.
also learning it to share with others.
What was, what is it that most surprised you about it?
It was it was like a super highway
Mm,
into, I guess, what felt like truth
mm,
of who I am beneath the trauma, beneath the fears, the anxieties, the depression that I was experiencing. It just I was able to access this really the truest sense of myself.
yeah. And from my experience, because obviously when I came to you to explore the idea of learning this for my clients, obviously the caveat of that was that you have to kind of experience it for yourself. Um, and I had the same kind of sort of wow moment for me. Was I never quite knew how much I had buried within myself and in my body, and how I hold myself,
Yeah, right.
and how I'm constrained by so many of my beliefs, and how actually just even in the way that I sit, and some of the pains that I had in my body, like discomforts, stomach pain, um, sometimes getting heart palpitations. I hadn't quite connected that with the fact that there was long held um, emotions trapped in there, from some of it from when I was younger, and some of it just from the general stress of life and feeling very overwhelmed.
Mm.
And I had some incredibly profound moments with you, Natalie, as you know. And I don't mind sharing that today, because I think it's actually really important that people know that there is something out there that goes beyond the talking therapy and
Yeah,
actually can complement it. Like the two
absolutely.
together actually work very, very well. And I know that you've also said that, this work is amazing, but actually it's always good to have a space to reflect after in therapy. So they do really work very hand in hand with mind and body, body to mind
Yeah,
in that
absolutely.
sense.
Yeah.
What would you say? How would you describe conscious connected breathwork? Because I guess there's going to be a lot of people that don't even actually know what we're talking about up until now.
Okay, so conscious connected breath work, it's kind of in the name. The
Mm,
name's a dead giveaway. So
mm,
conscious, we're being really conscious, we're being really present and aware of the breath, like all our attention is going into the breath, and connected, because typically conscious connected breath work, you're connecting the inhale and the exhale and closing down the pause in between. So it's like a circular breath. And breath speaks for itself, and work, it takes a bit of work, as you know, to commit to being in this cycle of breath for a period of time.
And it's an interesting one because when we get taught breath work, a lot of us know about breath work generally anyway, about the breath that calms us down, that activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the system that calms our body down, to breathe in and breathe out through the nose and long breaths out, calm the body down. So people will be surprised to hear that actually a breath that is more about breathing out through the mouth can actually be healing. And because it's almost like you're creating like a hyperventilation situation, wouldn't you? It's something like that.
Yeah.
But would you say that, Natalie? Or it's sort of like is bringing up, it's raising the heart rate, it's activating the body, it's bringing things up. But in that, by being in it, there's real healing that can happen and real like release, because you're staying in it for a certain amount of time, and it's how you're doing it as well in a safe way that is the powerful part.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are working with both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, and absolutely right. So when we go into this conscious connected breath work, we are creating sort of activation of the sympathetic nervous system. So you will feel sensations in your body, but we also, at least the way we've been working, is we're really honoring every individual's nervous system, their trauma history, their biology. So we're not using a one-size-fits-all approach. So it's really important to have a bit of history on the client so we know how to work with them. And just guiding it step by step, tuning in, checking in, how's the breath, how's the body responding to the breath. And we do create that activation, and within that there might be some release of emotions. There might be a connection to an old memory that's been tucked away, and also using the embodiment work to access these areas of tension where there can often be a stored memory. And when we've worked with the sympathetic activation, the body can then go into this state of parasympathetic, this rest and digest. And usually clients leave feeling incredibly, incredibly relaxed and peaceful.
And it's sort of like this profound experience of you went to probably the most intense experience of maybe what you fear in the body that you hide from. And actually you're okay.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, oh, actually outside in the world, it doesn't seem, I can handle it better.
Right.
It's something that shifts for people over time, along with sometimes having that euphoric feeling as well, like just the load having been taken off, like you've literally discharged something from your body.
And that's exactly what it is. We're discharging that energy that can be held in the body from a stress response, an incomplete stress response from the past.
Yeah. I always remember this video that you showed us in our training, and it was really really hit home just how much as humans we don't connect with our animal selves. Almost, we're so sort of like how we should sit, how we should be in life to be acceptable, to fit in to all these things. We're very civilized animals. And then what you showed us in one of the videos was an animal that was allowed to release its trauma from an incident that happened, and they overcome it in that moment, and they can move on.
Yeah, right.
And animals, somehow they get that chance to do that. They shake it out. There's a lot of shaking and trembling and sound coming from them.
Yeah.
It looks a little bit frightening, like what on earth is going on? But once you understand, that's what they're doing after, let's say, an attack or something frightening happening.
Yes, right.
They move on though, don't they? Whereas we, as humans, we
hold it all in.
How much we keep in history of things.
Yeah.
Lifetimes of stress.
Yeah, right.
We need to shake it out.
Yeah, and it's amazing
Yeah,
that what can come in a breathwork session,
yeah.
right? Those memories, the things that we'd completely forgotten about,
Mm,
and and they can come in all kinds of ways, like
mm,
through the smell sense or through a physical felt
mm.
sense in the body
Yeah,
or an image.
it's amazing. It's when I had my experiences, I've had varied experiences, but it is sort of like you go to an alternative place. It feels quite trippy. Um, because this is after a period for me of having done that conscious connected breath work maybe for about 20-25 minutes. I've been in that, and this part of my brain has switched off and I'm purely in the body. And has been and then another interesting fact being that 80% of communication goes from our body to our mind, so
Hmm.
there's so much that we haven't tapped into there. And I just remember I was with my body, and I had my stomach was aching, I was shaking, I was feeling anger, and I didn't know where that came from. I was like, where is this anger from? And it was such a relief to feel it, to really be in it, because I have never been very good with anger in my life. I will not let it be. I will push it down. I will quash it. It's not acceptable. Whenever I've expressed anger, something bad happens. A conflict happens, it becomes much bigger than I can handle in my life. So everything is pushed down. So when I was able with you to express that anger and go, "Arr!" and there was an encouragement of noise and movement. And, if I want to talk to you, I can do that in that space.
Yeah.
Um, and you guide me. And my gosh, it was a relief. It was a relief. It was surprising. I learnt that I did have anger there. And I learnt to be with it and stay in it and then express it and then release it.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I obviously, that wasn't the last time that I experienced that. I experienced that over sessions. I feel a difference in my body.
What do you feel? What's changed? What's different?
I feel more open. I feel certain conversations don't trigger me anymore
Mm.
about certain people in my life. They don't trigger me at all. I'm able to sit with it and go, okay, that's what it is. I can even be with it in humor. It's amazed me.
Yeah.
And they're relationships that all my life have made me like this, clenching, like that. And I'm not. I'm actually, and the people in my life who have continued to have conversations with me about certain people, they're like, this has completely changed you. I cannot believe it. And I said, it's the breath work. It is the conscious connected breath work. I'm going to keep saying it now because it is transformational. And for me and for other people that I've worked with since learning from you, working with my clients with it. Um, Even if a first session is amazing, but you really should keep going, because then you start to unravel and you have different experiences every time. You might travel to the past, you might be in something maybe more present. It might be that you have a euphoric experience and actually you're with a lighter side of yourself. You don't know where it's necessarily going to go,
Yeah.
but you have to sort of let go and trust.
Hmm.
So that is something I learned because I wasn't very good at trusting. So that's also very important. You have to, if you're thinking about doing something like this, what would you say to somebody in terms of their mindset and the type of person that might want to do it?
I'd say if you're the kind of person that maybe you just feel like you need to make a change in your life,
Mm,
or you have maybe been disconnected from yourself, your body, your feelings, expressions in some way, and feel like you really want to dive
mm,
into something that's really
mm,
quite transformative.
mm.
But a person has to be ready for it,
Yeah.
right? It's not for everyone. And yeah, it can be a very, very potent journey of transformation,
Mm,
and it's not a walk in the park,
no.
because we face ourselves. We have to, well, we get to look at all
Mm,
the parts of ourselves that we've neglected or we've ignored or pushed away, And as you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier,
Yeah.
it's actually not so bad once we're in it,
Mm.
just to say hello to those parts of ourselves, to feel it.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
something shifts, something
Mm.
moves, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
start to change that relationship with ourselves. And so many other benefits come from it. But there needs to be a willingness to go there.
Mm. And I think you probably sometimes notice when people aren't ready.
Yeah.
And, that's okay too. Maybe they'll get it on a certain level, certain surface level. I've noticed people who aren't necessarily there embracing it. Then they may not be ready, but it might be that they fall asleep, which is I did a couple of times. There was one where I actually fell asleep with you.
I remember.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
And then there was one where I didn't want to do the deeper breath and was sort of enjoying just lying there and maybe you putting pressure point, touching pressure points and things like that. So I found that quite soothing, but I wasn't going any deeper. But actually, I did get something even from that.
Well,
Even on that level.
that's it. I
Yeah.
mean, even if there is a willingness from
Mm,
somebody and they arrive, they come for a session and still there's a lot of hesitation, there might be fear, there might be anxiety about letting go, right?
mm,
Because it requires a certain amount of letting go of control. And so we just go in gently, we go in
mm,
softly. And even the most gentlest way of working
mm-hmm.
with this breath can be really, really powerful.
Yeah, yeah. And I was going to ask you about your experiences with it
Mm.
yourself. Like how has it been for you in your personal journey, if that's not too intimate? Like, because you've been doing this for years anyway, so there must be so many experiences for you. But
Yeah,
hmm,
yeah, so many. And so I've been doing this work
mm,
not only with others but for myself
mm.
since like 2013, and
It's a long
still
time.
I'm
Yeah,
having
yeah.
the most amazing revelations and journeys with myself in breath work. And I'm so curious to learn more. I'm always learning more,
Mm,
doing more
mm-hmm.
trainings. But
Yeah.
some of the earlier days, the breathwork sessions in the early days were huge. I mean, at that point, I was really struggling with some addictions, and it was a coping mechanism. It was a
Mm,
way to deal with life and not
yeah.
feel all the things that I'd pushed down. And then when I started doing the breath work, I started to feel everything, and
Mm,
it became
mm-hmm.
very clear that I had had quite a traumatic childhood. And I got to face it and meet
Mm,
it all, but there's sort of a gift with breath work. It always comes in a sort of kind and
mm-hmm.
compassionate way. It's
Mm.
not like a sort of horrific
Yeah,
experience,
yeah.
even though it can feel intense. And so I worked through some really big things from childhood. And then as time went on, it became less about stories from the past and more about my connection to my body.
Mm,
And so now I can go into a breathwork session, and it's not necessarily about a story or a particular theme, but it's more of me scanning my body, noticing what's going on in my body, where there's a bit of tightness or tension or an ache or a pain,
mm-hmm.
and moving my body. And I breathe very slowly and deeply
Mm.
nowadays. And so I take myself on these journeys of
Mm-hmm.
just moving my body and breathing into my body and meeting myself
Mm.
exactly
It's
as I am in
beautiful.
that moment. And
Mm-hmm.
quite often there will be a tearful release,
Mm.
or a little bit of activation and
Yeah.
physical release. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I was just thinking, just this second, it has it. I feel like you can talk about this in a very scientific way, can't you?
Yeah.
But then there's also what people say is the woo-woo element to it, and some people can feel kind of intimidated by that area. And I know that when I've spoken to some of my clients, they're like, "Oh, that's a little bit, not scientific," and they sort of don't. They're skeptical. But I find that if I explain the science to them, that does help them, and it doesn't have to go down that path, you know. And I just wondered, what would you say to people who maybe are a little bit scared of that woo woo element? It's too spiritual. I'm going to end up, you know, joining a cult or something like some breathwork cults, something like that.
Well, I think it really depends on the
Yeah,
individual, and you get a sense for
yeah,
who you're working with, right?
yeah.
And the beautiful thing about breath work is that, yes, there's a science to it, and also there's a physiological aspect, you know, what we're experiencing in the body. There's an emotional aspect, there's an energetic aspect, and there quite often is a spiritual aspect. So we can give them some information about from all of
Yeah.
those arenas, or just stick to what works for that person in a way that they can digest
Yeah.
that information.
And it can literally be you are doing a breath work that puts you into a state that shuts down the prefrontal cortex thinking area, and you are being with your body. You're bringing up the emotions that are there that you sort of suppressed. And what you're doing is, by being with those emotions, you're allowing yourself to build a confidence with sitting with them in a way that we spend all our time trying to distract ourselves, and in that we build a confidence and a mastery of ourselves.
Right. So
So you
then,
can actually look at it just that way. If
absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is such a key point,
Mm.
and one of the aspects that I really love
Yeah.
is developing emotional intelligence,
Mm.
right? So when we can actually acknowledge when we're feeling something, let's say anger, as you
Yeah.
mentioned that earlier,
Yeah.
we can acknowledge, okay, there's this anger in my body. You take away the label of anger, it might feel hot and fiery, and it might
Mm.
start in the belly and then just sort of emanate throughout the body.
Mm.
Something happens to the posture, the breath, the jaw, the look in the eyes, right? So when an emotion arises, things are happening
Yeah.
in the body. And so to recognize this and then to sit with it and feel, just stay with the feeling aspect of it, and allow yourself, give yourself permission to say, yeah, my anger is valid,
Mm.
and I'm
Mhm.
allowed to feel this, and
Mhm.
make the sounds and the movements and whatever comes. And when we give ourselves this, when we're out there in the world
Mm.
dealing with anger, we get to recognize it. We get to work with it and feel it in a way that is safe and it's healthy, rather than pushing it down
Mm.
and then it coming out sideways and in the wrong ways, projecting all over other
Yeah.
people.
Impacting our relationships, our life, all of
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
And the way we see
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah. All of that. Obviously, I've gone through the training and I've had sessions with you. So I am at a phase now where I do it for myself, and I usually spend about 10-15 minutes doing that. And every time I get into that breath, you know, 2 minutes in, start to feel tingly. 5-10 minutes in, I'm feeling it all. And I allow myself in a way that I never did before to let my body speak. I'll let it move. And because I'm also on my own, I allow myself to kind of move in ways that I have never moved in my life, like movements that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this. And you feel free. You feel like you are a little bit animalistic, like you've gone back to your rawness,
Yeah.
and the layers strip away.
Yeah.
And you go somewhere, and then you come out of it after you've done it, and you've taken yourself somewhere, and you've come back, and it's that felt so good. And
Yeah.
it's amazing that we all have that ability with something that's actually free, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, that we have within us the breath, this powerful thing. And it's not just breathing in and out. There's, you know, it's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Absolutely. And especially when
Yeah.
you bring in that embodiment part
Mm.
of it and the movement, right?
Mm.
You know, that's just taking the breath work to the next level,
Mm.
I
Mhm.
find, when
Mhm.
we can really just scan the body, see what's going on, and make those movements, follow the natural
Mhm.
impulses of the
Yeah.
body. to move, because it is there. The body wants to move. It's an alive, organic thing, right? That wants to move. But since, I don't know, around 7 years old, we're taught to have very restricted movements and expressions to fit in and be acceptable, to be loved. We have to behave in a certain way. And so, yes, in our breathwork sessions, we get to be that 5-year-old child again that's curiously playful, exploring the body, using the breath to do that.
And you do actually, through the breath, you do go to places like your, exactly what you just said, your 4-year-old, your 3-year-old. You know, people have gone to their birth.
Yes.
You know, that's another really amazing thing, because something that I had never realised about people's experiences is a lot of people have had birth experiences where umbilical cords would have been tied around their neck, and really difficult births, and in that impacted their nervous system in some way. And by going to breath, they actually go to that place. And it's interesting, Natalie, I don't know what, I've never experienced that myself with anybody, but I'm sure you have.
So like, a whole rebirthing experience. And
you help them with that.
So just healing any trauma that has
pre-verbal,
that's being held there, and can and will show up later in life.
All of that. It's, Natalie, you are an amazing practitioner and a teacher. So if people actually, you know, want to know how to find you, where would they find you? And if they wanted to do a course with you, or they wanted to actually, because you do online as well, don't you?
I do.
But you are mainly in person, aren't you, when it comes to your work? Because it's more powerful that way, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's definitely adjusted to the online setting, so it can be done online for sure. But it would perhaps be a little bit different than an in-person session. So I work in person and online, based in London, and we have a training program every year in London and Belgium.
Exciting.
For those that want to learn to facilitate, or those that just want to jump in and explore and make some shifts and transformations in their life. And I do one-to-one sessions, I do group sessions.
You're a busy lady.
I do.
Because it's growing, isn't it? It's growing.
It is, and it's beautiful work. If the work is done in a safe and trauma-informed way, it's beautiful, and it's really, really impacting people's lives in a positive way. And yes, it's growing. More and more people are feeling the positive impacts of conscious connected breath work.
Why do you think people are looking for it now? Because the right people do find it, don't they? They come to you. But why do you think people are looking for it more, maybe?
Well,
sorry, tricky question. Maybe
it's a big question. So
may not have the answer for that. I was just wondering.
Many reasons. It can be, I mean, the general state of the world that we're living in. There does seem to be more disconnect, and that's also almost balancing out on the other end of the scale, where people are looking for more connection to themselves and others. So that's one reason that people are doing it. Another reason is physical aches, pains, recovering from trauma, injuries, things that can't be diagnosed, but people are feeling in their bodies, which may be related to emotions or trauma.
It's fascinating. I was working with somebody who had a lot of jaw ache and was grinding their teeth a lot. And then we started to connect it actually a lot with shame and that swallowing of emotions in a way, and that was quite powerful. So we did a lot of work with movement with the jaw and also the pelvis, because as you have taught me, you know, the jaw and the pelvis are actually fascinatingly linked.
Yes.
You know, so if you shake and you release there, actually, it has an impact both ways, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
And we could talk about this endlessly, the work you can do with shaking the hips and movement of the hips and work there, and and how that impacts, release of trauma. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people hold it there, don't they? Jaw and pelvis.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
around the jaw, the
yeah,
pelvis, the throat,
yeah.
all that expression, all those words, those
All that,
opinions that never
yes.
got to be expressed.
Never got to speak. Exactly. It's
Yeah,
true, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
shoulders. I know that's my particular place of
Yeah.
holding.
Yeah.
Yeah, around the belly, the pelvis, pelvic floor, buttocks, that holding.
Holding in.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we don't know where we're holding. Just anyone right now should just actually do a little body scan and notice,
yeah,
where am I holding? Just even as a little exercise.
yeah,
And you'll
absolutely.
notice it's being
Just
more attuned to it. If anyone was to do anything right now, just as a little thing, maybe it is just to scan the body and notice it a little bit more.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. To just sit or lay down
yeah.
and just bring your attention into your body
Mm.
and maybe scan from head to toe.
Mm.
What is going on?
What is going on?
Staying super present with yourself and just noticing those areas, like what's going on around my eyes right now. Am I scrunching up my eyes? Are the muscles around my eyes engaged? What's going on with my jaw? Is there a clenching? Is there a
Yeah.
holding? Maybe I could bring some movement or some touch there. And what about my throat? What's happening here right now? And you might notice that there's a physical sensation. It might be a bit more abstract. You might sort of tune into one area of your body and feel like, oh,
Yeah.
it's really open and expansive there, like the ocean. You might sort of see colors or
Yeah.
textures, and then you might come down to your pelvis and feel, oh gosh, it's really tight there. It almost
Yes.
feels like I'm wearing a corset around my body. There
That's
might
the
be these
feeling that I have.
visuals.
That's one of the things I have is tight aching here and there. That's what I noticed.
Right.
My stomach and my throat. So there were areas that were, it's amazing. Well, Natalie, I feel like we could
Oh, we could go on for hours,
Maybe
couldn't we?
we'll do another one actually.
Yeah.
We'll talk about maybe from a different angle, maybe the therapeutic angle with it, because those two going together are very powerful as well. Like I've been exploring parts of people and connecting it with the body work and the breath work. And people are saying actually, when I see them after a breathwork session, I feel like almost like my 6-year-old that puts pressure on me and as a perfectionist is weighing on my chest. And breathing into that, I recognize that. And so, actually even just focusing in on that and breathing into that every day is your recognition. Okay, I put pressure on myself. Be kinder, recognize it. So it helps you to connect the dots a little bit.
Yeah, and give that
work.
child version an expression. How does it want to move? What does it want to say? What does it want to do now? Yeah.
And try and people who are a bit skeptical and feel a little bit cheesy, that's also a part of you saying, oh, this is, it's another part sort of trying to get you away from resolving things sometimes. The part that goes, don't know about this,
Well, it's
challenge that
safety, isn't it?
The mind that in itself is a safety.
The mind just wants us to be in the familiar and the known and take us back there. So that's why it's so important to just go in slowly and not shake the foundation so much that the person leaves feeling like, oh gosh, who am I anymore? What happened to me? Just like, it's okay. It's okay to feel the fear and the anxiety and the apprehension about going into this work and honor that. Like, bring that into the session.
You are such a gentle practitioner. And I learned so much from you. And I'm so glad that actually, this is my first podcast recording and I got you to come and talk to me about this because I am so passionate about it. And I felt there was no one better to talk about this with than you. So thank you, Natalie.
Thank you so much for having me. I have so much appreciation for you and the work that you're doing and this.
We need to spread the word, don't we?
We do.
We do.